Hey, this is Chris Hicks, Mr. 2.5 himself, and I am drinking at Moe's today.
All right, everybody, taking time out before we get this show started. I want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin be a brand ambassador for their clothing line. They got good stuff. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got beanies, they got lots of great stuff, encouraging everybody to break out of their comfort zone, live their best self, and hey, it's something I try to live every day. Now, be sure when you go and you're finishing filling out your order, use the code Drinking at Moe's, get 10% off, and the link and the code will both be in the description. Let's fucking go.
All right, everybody, welcome Drinking at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill by now. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, because YouTube's algorithm is still a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Just hit a milestone of 300 subscribers, pushing on to the next 300. And, leave a review on the audio platforms too, because, good Lord, I'm on most of them. Today, I'm excited to have with me Chris Hicks. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Before I jump into my first question, MPX is quickly turning into one of my promotions that I seem to be losing count to how many people I've had on that come through there. Much like H2O out of New Jersey. I've just lost count. And
the fact that also, like, we have a lot of our mainstays at MPX, but then also there's, if you have wrestled in Texas, you've probably made your way to MPX at some point too.
Yeah, that is very true. I've quickly come to realize that the more and more people I have on in the Texas or general area, if you've gone through Texas, you probably made it through MPX at some point. Which is awesome, because then you're getting your eyes on all sorts of talent from all over.
Yeah.
Well, but before we go too deep into this, the first thing I like to start off with is, what got you started as a fan?
So that's a fun story. And I can honestly take up your whole show with just that, going into so many fun details on that.
It's all good.
Yeah. What really got me started? So first, just like wrestling in general, I did not grow up as a fan of wrestling. I didn't watch it. My parents didn't necessarily watch or anything. My dad watched it when he was younger, so I was familiar with it. I couldn't tell you the difference between Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. I knew they both have similar enough voices, and I can do a mix of one of them. And but that was the extent of my wrestling knowledge growing up. I knew more about Bonesaw than I did actual Randy Savage.
Oh, Randy Savage's character from the Spider-Man.
Exactly. But maybe a couple of years ago, so I grew up, actually, I'm originally from Indiana, right? So I am a born and raised Colts fan, and therefore I'm a Pat McAfee fan. And so watching the Pat McAfee show, that was kind of my sports news intake.
Okay.
So when he started talking about how he's having his big WrestleMania match, and he's pushing that for like a month, I'm like, okay, I should probably check this out and see what it is. And they were actually in Dallas for that WrestleMania, so that was right here. Now, I didn't go to that live, but enough of my friends did, like from work, that I made sure to sign up for Peacock so I could watch it live and at least be able to talk with them about it, the following Monday. And I was hooked immediately. It was from the jump. I was absolutely in there. I was like, why have I not been doing this the entire time?
I can totally understand, with that connection to where you used to live, and then, good Lord, Pat McAfee, he's definitely been making a name for himself, both, still with football commentary and now, wrestling and everything. Hell, even having a couple pretty great matches thrown in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's been some of the stuff that, my own personal taste that I haven't necessarily been too big on him, but that's the beauty of professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
It's one thing that one person likes, somebody else might hate, and the same vice versa.
Yeah. I mean, that's not only is it like, something is for everyone there, nothing is for everyone. You're not supposed to like everything in wrestling. If you do, then the wrestling's doing something wrong. Like they need to be able to put at least one thing out on a show every other time that they're like, I would have done something different.
Yeah, and
because it's not everything's
yeah, not everything's for everybody, but
yeah.
there are definitely shows out there that have a little bit of something for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely promotions out there like, I talked a little bit about Revolver. They're definitely known as one that has a little bit of something for everybody. They have, the hardcore death match style stuff. They have some crazy scrambles, some kick-ass tag team stuff, all over. Oh God, I'm trying to. One that I was just remembering was Jonathan Gresham going up against. I'm wanting to say it was Speedball Mike Bailey.
Okay. That sounds familiar. I've seen plenty of Speedball. It's so good every time.
Oh yeah, and
But talking about Speedball and Wrestling Revolver. One of his matches, which maybe not is everyone's favorite, but I was more impressive than anything else, was the main event for, I believe it was Texas Toasted the first time they came down. He had a no ropes match against JD Griffey. And then so they were very much in their like submission era fight style. And that was good. It maybe wasn't what a lot of people were expecting. So a lot of people were again. I loved it. I was a fan of JD Griffey going in. That was the first time I saw Speedball. So that was great. What I was most impressed of is Travis Trueborn, the ref. He's a local NPF ref, and he was reffing that one. A lot of people don't know that ring is a couple feet smaller than ours that we use and no rope. So every time he would go down for a 3 count, he slides out his legs, back so he can make sure he's right there with it, eyeing both shoulders. His feet were off the edge of the mat every single time he did that, and he did not once fall out. And every other weekend I would say, "Hey Travis, good job. Remember when you didn't fall off the very small ring with no rope?
I can Oh man, yeah, I can relate and seeing some stuff like that with referees getting like pretty nasty injuries. Like you might have remembered there was an NXT house show where a ref had his ankle just snap.
I did hear about that, yeah.
And like he still counted the 1, 2, 3, and they carted him off. I was at that show.
You're kidding.
I was like a few rows from the few seats from the entrance. They carted him off right by me. I could literally see the ankle just like that, and it was just so. All respect for referees in the pro wrestling business. They can take some nasty bumps and get some nasty injuries themselves. Like hell, definitely. A great referee who, God rest his soul, Tim White, hell, his career ended. I actually got to meet him once. He was with Becky Lynch when she came to town for the World of Wheels. And I don't think he thought anybody would recognize him. But there was a handful with me that did. And we were all like,
Yeah.
oh man, can we get a picture with you? And he was almost like surprised, but like thrilled to do it. And I have that picture up around somewhere. I can't remember right now, but yeah, all due respect to the referees and the hard work they put in. Now, kind of getting back into things with MPX.
Yeah.
I actually just released an episode with the guy in the main event for as of recording.
You
Yeah,
absolutely did. I was lucky enough to catch a little over half of that today.
yep, that was a fun one. And
Yeah.
they are. I mean, this will be out after, but same day as the big Revolver show that I'll be attending. But I'll definitely be keeping my eye out for the happenings at MPX for that, because not only that, but the handful of guests that I've had on are involved in a pretty big multi-person tag match.
Yep.
One of them, well, two of them are actually, their episode is going to be released for part of my WrestleMania week celebration, especially, wanting to celebrate after the 300 subscriber milestone. I had to do something. And I'm talking about Purple Haze. Those
You
guys were
sure are.
fun. Those
Those
guys
guys
were
are so fun. I
that.
loved your interview with Prince Alexander. That was
Oh,
a great show. I got to watch that one. And I'm excited for everyone else to see that, but them together also. It's something
oh,
completely different. Both of them
oh
are,
yeah.
are very talented individuals and great in the ring and great just to like hang out and then chop it up afterwards. But for them to go off of each other is something entirely different. They
Oh
are
yeah.
made to be together. And
Oh
that's one
yeah.
of the interesting things with Purple Haze. They weren't necessarily booked as a tag team outside of MPX for the longest time.
That's what
And
they were
we
mentioning.
kept telling everyone, like, that you guys are leaving money on the table. Like this is because they'd be booked at the same shows, even. It wasn't like they didn't have room for both of them. They already had both of them on there. Like just put them together. It's amazing.
No,
And they
yeah.
just recently captured the Hot Pro Wrestling tag team titles.
I was
I was in
yeah.
Axel to watch that. That was great.
That is amazing. What I'm wanting to say, we talked about that one.
Hmm.
But they're teaming up in that with another former guest, Brick Savage.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, he is definitely an intimidating force, to say the least.
Yeah.
Like, I remember going into it, like, we were, it was a good time, but I remember going into it thinking, oh God, because I had just watched I joked with him a little bit about that viral clip of him picking a guy up by his leg.
Cavens, yeah. Yep. Dylan Cavens.
And I remember telling him that he reminded me of Hulk whipping around Loki in the Avengers.
Exactly.
Just,
Yeah, that's his end of the line slam. It's so good. I could never remember the name of it for the longest time, so I always describe. So you take a guy and you throw him to the moon and back in one fell swoop, and that's what it is. And
man, that right there. Whew, whew. I joked with Purple Haze about it, that, man, if I were to take, it was that, and they mentioned about some power bombs from him. And I'd be like,
yep.
I've heard of people, for the lack of a better way to put this, shitting themselves in the ring. If
Yeah.
I had to take one of those, like, I wouldn't even have to be sick before the match. I'm like, that impact off of either one of those, like, I need to make sure I brought a change of pants.
Yeah. No, I will. So one of the things, and you can transition this in a couple different ways for you, but one of my favorite things about MPX that they do It's usually Richard, the booker. It's usually his idea, so it's his own fault. They're always really good about involving the fans in the storyline somewhere. My I think third show there was a fans lumberjack match.
Mm.
Yeah, and funny enough, I didn't know what a lumberjack match was. So, and I haven't told this story yet, so this will be fun because they haven't heard this either. So when this comes out, they're gonna give me guff. But they're like, okay, everyone, the VIP guys, come on out. Just line up right here behind red shirt. And that was me. I was the red shirt. And we came in all around the ring, and Ernie's announcing the owner. He's like, "This is gonna be a fans lumberjack match," and I was like, "Okay, cool." So it's the thing where they stand on top of the logs and cut it with an axe, and that's what this is the lumberjack. Got it. This is what we're doing. And there were no logs, and there were no axes. There was a chainsaw bat, but that was later. And there was the first spot in it was Red Chambers, who had just recently won the Texas Rumble on his way to the main event in Destiny. He's like my Cody Rhodes. Like that's how I feel about him.
Gotcha.
So it was him versus his old faction mate who had interfered in his match the previously, Joe Angelo Garcia. Juicy Joe is a phenomenal athlete. He is the highlight of the night for a reason. He absolutely earns that moniker everywhere he goes, and I wish we could see more of him, but he's so busy booked everywhere, so I get that. What a good problem to have. So, but the first spot of that match is he starts coming out, and again, I don't know what lumberjack match is, right? He's there coming out at me, eyeing me, and I'm like, this is awesome. I'm just smiling, grinning. I don't know, he's gonna come out and walk here, I guess. And then he backs up back in. It's like, oh, was I supposed to scare him in? Is that what we do? And then thankfully, Livy, who was beside me, who I did not know yet at the time, was shit talking him. He's like, "Can you get back in there?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, we got it. I get it now. I'm picking up on context clues." So there's that. But Richard does a great job of including the fans and things. He had one of his crazy ideas was shot collars, and I don't know if you've had a guest on that's explained shot collars to you yet. They're not running it right now. They did it for a handful of months. Richard always tries to mix things up to keep it to special, but basically it was a special VIP ticket that was the price was different depending on who the wrestler was. So you got to sit with the wrestler during the show and watch the show. And at any point in time, you could ring the bell. We had a cowbell, so it was separate from the ring bell, right? Ring the bell and send your guy into the match to legally interfere in the match. And you gave him you told him what to do, gave them your instructions. Hey, go help this person win. Hey, go beat up this person. Whatever you need to do. And for 2 minutes, they could do whatever the hell they want.
Wow.
And
I was gonna say, not to interrupt you there,
please.
But uniqueness in professional wrestling, whether it's independence or national TV, is kind of few and far between anymore. And that right there is a very unique concept that, good Lord, there's not much in wrestling I haven't heard of yet. That is one, and I'm like, damn it, why are more people not doing that?
Yeah, and it was crazy because you think of oh, that's gonna mess up the storylines. You're literally taking things out of control of not just the booker, but the wrestlers and everything, and putting it in the hands of the fans. It was the booker who came up with the idea, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're really giving you a headache with this." And it's like, no, I just want to see what happens.
Oh hell! And you think about it, especially if you get some of your regulars there, they're gonna know the ins and outs of the different stories and stuff going on, so they're gonna be like, ooh, this will be interesting, and throw them in there to kind of shake up something that was already really going on, but they're just like, oh, he needs to get back at this guy, so I'm gonna throw him in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting. I actually got to be shot caller for the Rumble match. So that one had special rules because it was the special match, right? So for the Texas Rumble of this past year, what it was is you could ring. I got like a little individual cup up, which I wish I had with me. I would show you. It's awesome. I think they were supposed to take it from me, but I kept it. But when whoever you wanted to got eliminated, you could ring the bell, and they were re-entered into the Rumble match.
Oh,
And now I want you to imagine like trying to write already a 30-man Rumble match, stage out how it is. Okay, so you've got at least, who you're throwing over, who throws you out, and then like one or two spots that you have to do to build storylines or whatever, things like that. And then just throw a whole nother person in there. And you don't know who it's going to be out of the 30. And there were actually 3 shot callers that night. So it could ostensibly, we could have all band together and made it the same person and push them to win. Like, it was insane. I thankfully got to call mine for Tatum Manning, who returned that show. And I don't know if you've had him on yet.
I don't know if I have. I don't believe I
Definitely
have.
needs to be on your list, especially after this next week when he gets his match with Trey Miguel at Destiny.
Yes, that match right there. Holy shit.
Yeah, but still haven't got to where I was going. But Handsome Rex, who is my co-host, I'm gonna say co-host because he's not here to correct me. My co-host on our wrestling podcast, Mid Card Heroes. He got Brick Savage as his shot caller wrestler. Yeah. We actually also just got to do an interview with them as well. And that is Handsome Rex's absolute #1 favorite wrestler. You ask Handsome Rex, who's on his Mount Rushmore of wrestling, he's going to say Brick Savage, Brick Savage, Brick Savage, and Brick Savage. And also Brick Savage. He's going to put 5 heads on Mount Rushmore just to put Brick Savage on there again. And so the fact that we got to just hang out with Brick Savage, bake some cookies, it's just like, I don't know, what do you do? Say thank you for this awesome experience. And we got to hang out with them. But to watch, we had a couple of options that we were going to send them into. It was more realistically going to be the main event because we had this big heel faction at the time that was doing a really good job of drawing heat. So it was like, well, we got to go send them in to destroy them. And because they had a match, one of their members had a match against Tommy Becker for the main title. So I was like, well, we can't let them win. Yeah. And so a couple people tried. A couple people were egging on Brick Savage, trying to get them to come out into their match. Because that's what you do as a good heel, is you say, no, I have the most heat. And I want to give people. All right. You want, sure.
Yeah.
So watch them tune up and turn into character. When we knew it was about time, she was feeling the match. And we were like, okay, so this is the last one. We're going to do it. You just tell us when, right? And they were just like, just watch them like pump up. And it's like, oh, this is
it's on.
I'm putting behind them. They're aimed away from me and I am frightened. That was intense.
I can only imagine. I know I would be half tempted in a Rumble match to kind of do that where the person at the end thinks they won, but it's not officially over yet, and then boom, send in the guy then right when the other guy thinks he won it. Nope.
Yeah.
That
well, and then
the little shit I can be at wrestling shows sometimes. That would be me. I would not be able to pass that up.
Yeah. So the only, I think, downside to shot callers is that there was one ticket per show, right? So in order to remedy that, one of the things they moved to next was creative control. Now, creative control was a lottery system. It was just a $5 ticket. You could buy as many raffle tickets as you wanted. And before the show, they spin a wheel and land on that, and you got the creative control card. So it was you could at the end of any match, you could play your creative control card and restart the match.
Oh, I'd have too much
Yeah.
fun. I could have
Oh,
too.
it was great. That was a great way to also one get more people involved. It's not as much of a money sink. So like I couldn't spend like the $100 or something on a shot caller every week, but I could chip in $5, see what happens. That'd be good. Ironically enough, uh, our local AC Adam Chavez was the first shot caller and the first creative control winner,
No kidding. Wow.
and both times he used it against Demo Diamond. It was so great. So
No.
whatever the next thing is, we know Demo's gonna have a target on his back for the next gimmick.
Yeah, I can imagine so. I
Uh-huh.
know for me, like I said, I can be a little shit at wrestling shows sometimes. I'm always trying to get somebody to crack. Like
Yeah.
whether it's a wrestler, referee, photographer, ring announcer, whoever. And just getting them to just crack up in the middle of whatever. I actually got it done at one of the last shows I'd been to as of right now, where it was Mike Bennett was one of the guys in the match, and I actually got him laughing his ass off. Is there like a little rest spot? And I just yelled out, Adam! He just looked, and you could tell he was laughing his ass off. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
And then we did a video after the show, hyping up the channel, where I asked him if he'd be willing to do it. And he was all for it, where we did the, ball up your fist, punch you right in the wiener, pull you in for a pile driver. Oh, between making him laugh in his match and getting to do that video made my night.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate. And, hopefully one of these days I'll make it down there to MPX, because, I've run into Palmer pretty much every time but this next time with Revolver. So, I get to see him every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, who knows? I'm definitely going to be trying to get down there.
I'll save you a seat.
No, definitely. All right. Well, another thing that I was wanting to talk about is I just recently got to see the movie Iron Claw.
Yeah.
That, like, for those like me that have, we've seen the documentaries, we know the story and everything, but to get to see that interpretation of it was definitely interesting. And I especially, without going into too great a detail, I'll mention why off camera, but that, oh shit, there we go.
Okay.
But where I was going was the ending to that like interpretation of heaven right there. I'm like, due to some personal reasons that I said, I'll go into off recording, that, like, I don't have a whole lot of moments in movies that tear jerkers, to say the least.
Yeah.
That right there got me pretty good.
Oh, definitely.
Especially with the youngest one that got electrocuted like at a really young age, and then asking about him, and boom, there he tug at your damn heartstrings. What did you think of the movie?
So great movie. Absolutely. I have an interesting perspective on that because I didn't know the story going into it. I'm in Dallas, I'm in the wrestling scene, but I've only been in the indie scene for a little over a year now. So all of this is new to me, and I'm still just trying to keep up with what's going on, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
it can be a chore sometimes, even for
yeah,
people that have been watching for as long as I have.
yeah. Like again, it's a good problem to have, but it's not a problem still.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I thought it was a great movie. I actually have a background in film, so I was able to approach it more from that direction. And and then when I do the deep dive backwards, and I found out there was still another brother that just they had to cut from the moon. It was like, yeah, I get that. You know,
Yeah.
there's that was rough and they really didn't include the youngest who had died, in the story as much because it's just so much of a sad story. It's really hard to try and end that on a positive, hopeful note to add another death in and another character that you get close to, or to not do justice enough.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I was like, it's a great movie. Everyone should watch it at some point. Not necessarily like a date movie per se. Not a oh, let's just throw this on with the kids.
Yeah,
That's
definitely
not
one of,
necessarily the style. Yeah.
but
But
definitely if,
definitely a movie worth watching.
oh, most definitely,
Yeah.
especially for pro wrestling fans for sure. Getting to
Oh yeah.
learn a part of wrestling history that maybe you might not be as aware of. I know me, I was kind of born towards, oh God, I'm trying to think. I was born in 83, so that world class was still, you know, going around. And I, I, I always say one of my first memories of wrestling was seeing, Hogan, Warrior coming out there. But then I also, and my attitude toward him changed, you know, when I was younger, he pretty much scared the shit out of me with the way he came out for his entrance. But then, as my taste with wrestling evolved and I gravitated towards those intense individuals, I started to absolutely love him. And he's currently one of my favorites in Bruiser Brody. Seeing him
Oh yeah, definitely.
coming around, waving the chain around, and just reminding me of Lance Archer in New Japan, where he would be, wouldn't necessarily be with a chain, but he'd have a water bottle, and part way out, he just chucked the water bottle and
Yeah.
damn near scaring the crap out of some kids. I never got to meet Bruiser Brody because hell, I was too young, and then everything happened with him. For those that have
Mhm.
seen, still one of my favorite Dark Side of the Ring episodes ever.
Hmm.
But I have, and well, trying to remember where I got it behind me, but my wrestling figure collection, this entire top shelf is all signed. And the second one I ever got was actually Lance Archer. When
That's awesome.
when my podcast got invited to be a part of Warrior Wrestling St. Louis stop.
Right, right.
And he faced off against, it's escaping me right now, but one of them's a part of the Rascals. It's not Wentz and it's not Miguel.
Oh, those are the two I know.
I am trying to brain fart right now, but I've met all of them. So,
Okay.
it happens when you've had damn near 230 episodes and met so many people through the podcast. Names start in memory start getting a little fuzzy sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're trying to remember specifics.
I can imagine. We are only like, 20 some odd episodes into our podcast, and it's already trying to keep up with that. Especially
Oh,
since ours is more story driven. So we have like characters that we're just coming up with and creating out of the blue. And we're like, no, that one guy's not gonna go back and listen. And
Yeah, I've definitely been there. I mean, me, like, I also, for the YouTube channel, I have like event
yeah,
vlogs. And me now versus me during those, there's slight differences. I mean, yeah, I might have a little liquid encouragement in there, but I mean, drinking at Moe's, I mean, I'm going to be drinking
yeah,
alcohol at some point.
it's on brand.
But I mean, I need to find more of, random side tangent here, more of this.
Yeah.
The last time I got to have any of this was actually on a trip I went on with my dad to my first ever game at Lambeau Field in Green Bay.
Mm.
I've been a lifelong fan of the Packers, big cheesehead, but never been to a game there.
Really?
And then finally, coincidentally, it was Aaron Rodgers' last.
Ah, well, you just in time then.
Yeah. And then I've been to one other one since.
Right.
The game against the Vikings in Minnesota on New Year's Eve.
Ooh.
And you know what? Funny enough, I did not get treated very badly by the Vikings fans.
No, they really carry over their Minnesota nice pretty well into the stadium.
Yeah, there'll be some random shit talking, but
Yeah.
from what I experienced, nobody ended up taking it too seriously. Hell, one guy, I was out searching for some memento from the game, just something small, and coincidentally, just got to talking to him. He had this bunch of food that he was eating, and he was like, well, I spent all this money on, he had left a mini tub of big ass fried cheese curds. He was like, well, I already spent all this money on them. Somebody better eat them. I'm like, jokingly, I will. And then
Yeah, volunteer tribute.
He handed them to me. I'm like, okay, thank you. But yeah, no, that, and coincidentally, kind of an unplanned segue into the next topic I was wanting to go into here. We're on the heels of another WrestleMania. And
yeah,
rumor has it probably 41 might be in that same stadium in Minnesota. I mean,
yeah.
the rumor going around right now. So we'll see. But hell, to be honest, that's been the rumor for like the last, I don't know how many years. So I'll believe it when I see it. But what are you in particular looking forward to this year? Because there's some interesting goings on there leading up to the showcase of the Immortals, as they call it.
Yeah. I think realistically, a Jimmy and Jay is gonna probably be my favorite coming out of it. I think that's going to, because it's kind of going under the radar right now. Which is
It is
insane to think about that that's even possible.
Yeah, that is very insane thinking about it, because people are kind of just expecting that one's going to happen, which, I mean, everything going on right now, it would just make sense.
Right.
But when those two finally have their blow off at WrestleMania, from what all signs are pointing to, that is going to be a match that everybody's going to be talking about. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to remember.
Yeah. But I think I'm more looking forward to what happens with Cody. I think that's where I'm at, because again, my first anything wrestling was his return to WWE. So you have to remember the huge pop that got from everyone. I'm sitting there like, this is awesome. I have no idea who this guy is, but I love it.
But yeah,
so
getting to sit in the middle of that and getting to feel that reaction. Oh,
Mhm.
I'm
So
jealous. I've yet to actually go to a WrestleMania. That is like on my bucket list. Like, I don't care if I need binoculars just to see anything. I just want to be there.
Well, and it was funny, and my buddy Eric, he got pretty good floor seats, but again, that was so far deep. He had a better view, like seeing the screen above him than he did the actual. But I mean, he had the most fun I've ever seen anyone have ever.
Though I can imagine. I am quite jealous. I know for me, yeah, Jimmy and Jay, definitely looking forward to that. I know as of recording this, there is a match with, big WrestleMania implications for Gunther's IC title. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, I know a former guest of mine, Bronson Reed, is actually in the match, which, has me kind of pulling for him.
That's fair.
Would be
it was
pretty
a good
cool.
interview too.
Oh yeah, that one I was kind of caught off guard that he even said that he would do it, because it was at the Warrior Wrestling Fan Fest, and I was walking up to a few different people, and he was like, right after the Fan Fest ended, people were going to pick their seats before the public got in. And literally between then and when he had to go back to actually get his gear on, it was like, okay, we got this time. Let's do it. And I'm like, okay. Because that night he was going up against Jeff Cobb.
Yep.
And holy crap. I was close enough that I joke about it, but I'm serious. You can literally see the individual beads of sweat flying off of them when they're chopping each other and stuff. It was nuts.
My first, I went to a promotion called VIP Wrestling, which also runs out of here in Dallas. That was great. My first show there, the main event was a cage match between Shane Taylor and Brian Keith. And so good. I got so much of Brian Keith's blood on me. It was awesome.
I can imagine. Holy crap. I got to meet Brian Keith at, I think it was actually the last Revolver show I went to, coincidentally.
Yeah.
Funny how Revolver keeps on coming up. But, man, definitely one of those intense individuals when the camera's on him. But, man, you get to actually talking with him
so
behind
nice.
that. One of the nicest dudes ever. I could actually also say that with Swerve. I got a figure signed by him. Like, especially that, it's leaning more towards a face run right now, but man, when he was in the middle of that feud with Hangman, man, he was one sadistic son of a bitch.
So good.
But man, you talk to him behind when the camera's not on him, dude, again, one of the nicest people ever. And it's funny how sometimes some of the people that play like the most sadistic heels, like you get them, the camera not on them, some of the nicest people ever.
It is hilarious. And then obviously not all of them, but there are, if there are any bad apples, it's funny how they tend to be faces.
That is weird. That weird contrast there.
Yeah.
It's very interesting when you actually think about it.
Yeah.
Like, god dang, now that, I've ran into a few. I don't want to, throw any
of course,
put me under the bus because I like to keep it lighthearted and fun around here. But I'd be lying if I said that I hadn't run into any of those. But now, actually, before we go into my categories that I have, what is plans you got for Mania? I know I'll probably end up watching, I'll definitely be watching both nights, but the celebration that I have for hitting the milestone on YouTube. I literally have content every single day of that week that I'll be putting out. So I will definitely be busy, but
Yeah.
there's no way I'm not watching, because another piece of content that I'll be putting out is, predictions episode. And I mean, not to spoiler for those bits of content, but we can talk about that later. But
Sure.
I'm definitely looking forward to stuff that I'll end up doing for. What's some of the plans that you have? You got anything big going for watching the shows?
Yeah, so our guys at the Mid Card Heroes podcast, we're gonna actually get together and watch it together. And then so I'm hoping, I said I was the co-host earlier, I'm the producer, but they weren't here to correct me. Um but that's funny because that's where my nickname 2.5 comes from, because it's them two, and I'm not a full third man, but I'm still very much there.
Gotcha.
I'm the 2.5 man. But so we'll be watching that together, and we just started up our Instagram account. So we will definitely be posting something on there from that. We haven't quite workshopped what yet. Whether that's going to be live reactions, it'll be the first time in a while where we're all actually together at the same time. Just because the schedule's permitting, and we do ours over Zoom as well. So,
Yeah.
who knows what kind of chaos is going to ensue from that. But definitely we will post that on our Instagram and keep you updated on that as well.
I'll be definitely following you guys on that, because I don't know so much about having anything, live going for mine, because good Lord, I might have put myself into a little bit, because it's like, okay, well, now I have to put content out every day of that week. But it was one of those things that, when I started the YouTube channel part of it, I think I had a YouTube channel that I never really did anything of. I just wanted some place to upload videos that wasn't going to take up stuff on Facebook and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they had the ice bucket challenge. I did one of those that I put on there, and some little jokes that I had from TikTok that I put on there. And I think I had maybe 14, 15 followers at the time. So never thought that I'd have anywhere near 300. So I'm like, well, I have to do something big for that. So now, I already had ideas when it was getting close. So it's just getting that stuff recorded now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Now, like I said, I have two categories. One's a bit of a name game, where I give you've watched it, other episodes, I give the name, you give me quick thoughts on the person, and I try to most of the time theme it towards guests as much as possible. And with the NPX and Texas, each of these people at least got their start in Texas.
Yeah.
Whether they're there now is, whatever. So name, first thoughts that pop in your head.
Right.
First one, I guess I didn't realize that she was from Texas when I was searching around. But Jordan Grace.
Ooh, okay. So that's actually one that I'm not as familiar with. So that's good that you're talking about quick responses. That's going to be a quick one.
No, and hey, that happens. I've had,
Yeah,
ones where, people haven't, there's so much wrestling out there that, people aren't going to be able to watch all of it.
yeah. I'm still like a week behind on WWE and everything, and
yeah, there's some for some promotions that I've had and developed friendships with people from there on that I'm still a little bit behind on.
Yeah.
But I know Jordan Grace, I'm familiar from, noticing her at that first All In to, the amazing work that she's doing not Impact anymore, TNA now.
Right.
Back to that. But I remember, most recently with the Royal Rumble,
Mm-hmm.
and then her coming out. And I'm like, it took, like, I've seen videos of some people's reactions, and it seemed like they were kind of like, who? But then I was like, it like took me a second because I'm like not thinking that was even a possibility.
Yeah.
Because I heard the sirens and stuff, and I'm like, who the hell has that in their
Who's
entrance?
stealing Jordan Grace's gimmick?
who could that be? And then I see her come out, and I'm like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they've had Mickie James go out there with basically that title. And, I was a little worried that they were going to give her kind of the Mickie James treatment, not really have that. I mean, that great of a showing.
Yeah.
But then, holy shit, she had a great showing that night.
A real great showing.
Hell, that stuff that she had with Bianca Belair and,
Yeah.
oh, man. Just light bulbs going off of possibilities of, like, if we're going to be a little bit of a working relationship going there, I'm like, oh, damn, this could be good.
Yeah.
All right, next one. One of the other people behind MPX, Athena.
Athena is amazing. Athena is actually probably why one of the two reasons why I started going to MPX. So again, when I first started watching wrestling, I was like, oh, I got to get more of this. Well, I went through and binged like all of Up, Up, Down, Down because that's all I got, and I saw Athena on there. But then I wasn't seeing her in WWE because she had already been released at the time. So fast forward like half a year, and then they announced that she's going to be in the Texas Rumble at MPX. And I'm like, that's just down the street from me. Okay, I'll go check it out. And I did. So she's very nice, she's very sweet. She and Matthew Palmer are usually there most nights, but they don't come out that often because they really want the focus to be on the show. So they help run and produce in the back and maybe come help clean up after all the fans have left and stuff. But they're so good about making sure that everyone focuses on the guys that are actually working that night. She's so sweet.
She's a character. That is refreshing in a lot of ways because, you see people, in the wrestling business that, when they have and help run promotions, they can't help but, put a lot of the spotlight on them. So when you got those that definitely make an emphasis on putting and making sure that spotlight is on the others is definitely refreshing. I know they're, again, not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I've definitely been to a few promotions that, even recently, the focus is put on a lot of the people that are, behind the scenes in charge. So it's refreshing when you see that. And I've actually, again, same show that I had Bronson Reed on and met Lance Archer and Jeff Cobb. She was also the women's champ for Warrior Wrestling at the time.
Right.
So I got to see her there, and she was in a little bit of a feud with the Frank the Clown at the time. And let me tell you, that was funny, especially before the fans started coming into the fan fest.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to go back and look at my event vlog that I call documenting and shit, which I'm going to be doing stuff at Revolver, but back to, I can't remember if on the Warrior one that I got this, but there was a little interaction with her and Frank before the fans came in. She scared Frank the Clown, and you could hear him run off with a little high-pitched squeal. And I even had a little bit of a hand in a joke on Frank the Clown at that, because they were trying to, the podcasters had their area and the wrestlers had their tables, kind of lining the way around. And they were trying to figure out, where are we going to put Frank the Clown, because he wasn't there yet. And there was this trash can right in this little cutout area. I was like, I'll take care of it. And I put it right there in front of the trash can.
Perfect.
Yeah. And yeah, his reaction when he saw that, now he can find out, if he pays attention to the show, that that was me.
Someone's going to clip it, send it to him. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still I'm good friends with a lot of the Warrior crew. So
Probably Athena will, just to rub it in his face.
Yeah. I don't mind. I have fun. I have fun with it. But kind of going into the next ones here. You know what? Hell, another one of my signed figures back here. Keith Lee.
Keith Lee is awesome. I know that your listeners got to hear a lot of the story of his match versus Aaron Eagle at Wrestling Revolver. That was Texas Toasted. That was great. That was the first time I met Keith Lee. So nice. There was a fan. Revolver does this great thing, I know you know, where if you sign up for the meet and greet, they'll give you a poster and you can go around and basically get everyone to sign and stuff like that. There was a fan who someone bumped into someone and a drink got spilled on their thing. Keith Lee went back to behind where everything was, got him a new poster, and got everyone backstage there to sign it for the kid.
That
because
is
his
awesome.
has gotten ruined. Yeah.
It definitely seems like something he'd definitely do. He was more than willing to, sign the figure that I had brought, because I was a little bummed out because he wasn't out there during that meet and greet beforehand.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, shit. But then I ended up bumping into Swerve out in the parking lot because he was filming a promo out there.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, yeah, he's still here. So I just waited for a while. And man, yeah, nicest dude. And I still remember the clip of, from NXT where it involved Adam Cole, and all of a sudden you just see Keith Lee pop out of nowhere and just basically yeet him into the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that was something else. But yeah, one of the nicest dudes ever. And well, another big man out of Texas, the world's strongest man, Mark Henry.
Mark Henry, not anyone that I've gotten to meet personally yet, but I love watching. He's on so many podcasts, so many interviews. You can get
Busted
his
open, he's big there.
Yeah. So I love seeing him. He's a guy who definitely will tell you little backstage things in the most sincere way possible. That's he'll just give you these little tips. It's not talking down about anyone, unless it's himself. Then he'll love to shoot on himself, and which just makes him even more human.
That's like lovable.
Me. Yeah,
that's like me.
So I almost love his personal interviews more than his wrestling, just because he's such a nice and likable guy to everyone that you just
Oh,
get that feeling.
oh yeah, I definitely get that feeling hearing him talk for sure. And yeah, whether it's talking about wrestling or hell, just any topic that he's involved in, it's just a joy getting to hear his stories behind everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's definitely got some good ones.
Yep.
Next, last but not least here, probably the one person that would actually get me starstruck. And I've joked about this, but if I ever got this guy on the podcast, I could never do another one and I would be happy because there's no way in my mind I'd be able to top it. But I'm talking about
What?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah. So he's definitely one of the few names that I did know growing up. Obviously didn't watch it, but like you still knew who
Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin was. But so again, but my first time I ever saw him was his match with Kevin Owens.
Mm.
So that was my true introduction to him. So that was epic enough as it is. And then
Oh,
going
yeah.
back and watching everything else.
Oh, yeah.
I actually have to do my producer job and 2.5 switch it back on to you because you did mention this in your interview with Aaron Eagle.
Mm.
So, but I have to know, what would you ask him?
Oh,
He's on your show. This is the end all be all shows. What are you talking about?
well, I'd be curious about some of the early days getting started out. We talked about the Von Erichs with
Mhm.
Iron Claw, and him getting to work in the sportatorium, getting to hear
Yeah.
some of that. Definitely some of the original ECW stories because you don't like his time there was very limited, but he definitely had a bit of an impact. So I would definitely be interested in hearing about that. And then, God, like it would definitely take me a little bit to at first get over the shock of holy shit, I'm legit looking at him right now. But just to get to pick his brain for a little bit on just literally any wrestling related topic, and like some of the obvious questions about stuff with like the feuds with like The Rock, because good lord, that spanned so many years, multiple titles, that it's just like getting to hear about that, and his feuds with the Hart family, because actually the one time I ever did get to go to a Raw taping that he was at, definitely going to be dating myself here, but it was when he was in a feud with Bret Hart, and Bret Hart was in a wheelchair, and this was during the Hart family deal during Raw, and he was actually chasing around the group of them with an axe handle. Just they constantly be doing stuff, and that I don't know if he had a hand in this, but going to The Rock, this was actually the same show where Rocky Maivia lost the Intercontinental title to Owen Hart.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I have looked up the date of that show just to go back and watch that one. I've done it. I'll admit it. But to put a point on it, good Lord, what wouldn't I ask the guy about? Because for me, having built him up so much in my head, when I would get over the shock of holy shit, I'm actually talking with him, it would probably be one of my longer episodes, because would just be so much I'd want to ask.
Mhm.
That, good Lord. Yeah, it would definitely be one of the longest episodes I've done. It would it would probably have to be a multi-parter. Just find a cutoff point and
Yep.
then just like splice it together. Oh God, yep, nope. But yeah, I would not be able to top that. No offense to anybody else out there, but that in my head, I don't think I'd be able to top it. Like literally done. Everything will still be up on the YouTube and the audio channels, but that's it. I'm done.
Well, you still have to put in your 2 cents every once in a while, at least.
Yeah,
Those are fun to listen to too.
yeah. That the interview part of it.
Yeah,
Done.
you just gotta pivot.
Yeah, just pivot to the my 2 cents part. Just
Yeah.
concentrate on that because the interviews, there's no way I'm topping that one. All right.
Unless it comes back for another one.
Yes. That would, yes. If he would want to come back on, yes, that would be the thing to dig out that again. Yes. Wow. Yep. I could go on and on about that. And yeah, I go on tangents every once in a while. Anyways, next topic. Some random questions. My random question category where some might be wrestling related, some might not be, some might have absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far. So this first question, I give you the question, you give me first answer that pops in your head. First one is the one I generally keep as the first one because, man, have I heard some entertaining stories. Craziest in-match moment that you've witnessed?
That I've witnessed. There's been so many. Yeah.
Yep, I can relate.
I mean, you've had everything from, like gaffes, like pants falling down, to planned spots like Brick doing the end of the line slam on Cavens. That was supposed to happen. It was still in freaking insane.
Oh yeah.
There's so many good.
So
You know
much.
what? I think probably the I would have to say, when I had the shot caller, and I rang the bell, I got to put Tatum Manning back in, who was making his return. Every single person who was not named Tatum Manning who was in the ring hated me and yelled at me the entire time. Because the best part is, so when I started in wrestling, the it all three AEW, WWE, and MPX were pretty aligned as far as like formula at the time. You had your face that you were pushing really hard to get over, but it wasn't their turn yet to take off the main champion from the most dominant heel in history that they've had. Like that was just what was going on in all three of these companies at the same time. And for MPX, that most dominant heel in history was Tatum Manning. So, and he had been face and he had been heel, and he had been wrestling for what, like 3 to 5 years already at that point. But this time he was the biggest asshole he could possibly have been. Um, he was he lost the championship in a little bit there, so it wasn't like a straight year. But he got it back and he held on to it for a little over a year total. Um, and so when the hero of the people, Aaron Eagle, finally stepped up, didn't do a face turn because he wasn't heel before. He's always been a hero. So when he stepped up and saved us from the tyranny of Tatum Manning, and then the following week, Tatum Manning had a match against Palmer, lost that match, quit the company, was gone for too many months, if you ask everyone, because we all love him. But wanted to come back as a face because he missed interacting with the fans like that. So when he came back, and He had this huge pop when he comes up the curtain. He had a little video package leading up to it. It was awesome. He comes back. Everyone's like, and I was like, I know what I'm doing. Who I'm ringing the bell for. We gotta get Tatum. We gotta get him more time. He's probably not gonna win. He came in at like 12th or 13th. So I was like, that's fine. But that also means that I'm not gonna mess up the ending somehow, which was a huge fear of mine just internally. Like, I was like, I don't want to throw off your groove. But but everyone from face and heel were like, why would you do that? Do you not remember how much of an asshole he is? Why would you do it? Why didn't you say me? And it's good. As they come out, we have one wrestler manager duo, which is JoJo and Monty Cashall Esquire. Definitely keep those names in. They debuted semi recently, but they're going places for sure. And JoJo is a hobo character that Monty Cashall, the businessman, kind of like pulled off the street and is sending in to go wrestle for scraps and stuff like that. So he was trying to cut a deal with me the whole time. He's like, hey, I've got like $8 in my pocket. Is that enough for you to ring the bell for my client if he needs it? And I was like, I spent $100 on this one. He's gonna need a little bit more. And so we were gonna negotiate around some.
That is awesome.
It's the craziest because I was not expecting everyone to do it. And even, Aaron Eagle, who I am one of the biggest fans of, I was in the doghouse for a minute there with him. And I was like, especially since he's the one who eliminated Tatum Manning. And I'm pulling back, and he's like, where's do that? And we had Jacob Lindsay, who was there. It's like, but Chris, it's my birthday. Why didn't you say me? And it was so, everything was so great. But between that and then again, the lumberjack story that I mentioned earlier, those are probably some of the craziest ones.
Oh yeah, no, that would be hard to top. I know. I'm again kind of jealous because I've always wanted to be involved in one of those.
Yeah,
like always. Like I see them happen, and I'm like, oh man, I want to do it. Even though I don't know how big of a role that I'd even play in the everything with the match, just to be able to be a part of it would be something pretty cool.
Right.
And hell, I've witnessed my fair share of crazy stuff from I mentioned stories of my first ever death match that I got to watch, and flaming glass, and going to a no ring death match show and being thankful I wore closed-toed shoes because the metal connector end of a light tube ended up flying off and hitting me in the foot.
Yeah.
I've witnessed some crazy stuff. Speaking of moments, we talked about, WrestleMania and stuff we're looking forward to, but everybody has like a favorite match or a moment when it comes to WrestleMania from, we're going on 40 now.
Mm-hmm.
Before my cat tries to knock over my stand here, what would you say is a favorite WrestleMania match or moment for you?
I mean, this is probably not going to come as a surprise to you from everything we've talked about today, but when Stone Cold came out to save Pat McAfee in his debut match at WrestleMania, that was awesome. That match was already good. Austin Theory did a great job of being a heel. I legitimately hated him for like a month. And then Vince McMahon comes out and does his whole thing, is like, we win, and you hear the glass shatter.
Oh God, the looks on their faces.
Yeah.
Oh. And yeah,
that was definitely it for me.
The stuff that he did with Kevin Owens, like, I'll admit, the Stone Cold fanatic that I am, I was a little worried, with the neck injury stuff. I'm like, but man, they did awesome. And then the whole stuff with McAfee and Theory and stuff. And I got a funny story. you've probably heard it, but my little almost run in with Kevin Owens,
Mm-hmm.
man, to this day, like just the image of me getting up and boom, there's that T-Rex skull on his shoulder. And I'm like, holy fuck. He's with his family. I don't want to ruin this for him, but
Yeah.
I was fanboying out like crazy.
Well, and just talking about that, someone who has a very similar story to you, JoJo, who I just mentioned, um, it used to work at the Starbucks right across from the Performance Center.
Mm.
So has had plenty of run-ins with plenty of superstars in his day.
I can
So if
imagine.
you ever get him on, that's definitely one you'll want to ask about.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, behind me here, got
Mhm.
split bunch of my collections. Up top, you can't see my Ninja Turtle stuff, but growing up, it was pro wrestling and Ninja Turtles for me. And I got my souvenir shot glasses, my wrestling figures, and Funko Pops and stuff. What would you say is a hobby that you have, if any?
Um, Other than going to wrestling,
Yeah.
about any shows I get, um, I would say I'm not as big on like autographs and things like that. I enjoy them, but I definitely like I almost feel like I am imposing too much if I'm going up and asking. But I love getting like things that they're just from moments.
Mm.
Like that shot collar bell. Like I
Yeah.
have that, and that's from a thing. I've got my cane that I use actually has been used in multiple matches at this point because guys have pulled it aside and beat someone else with it in the ring. Um, I've got shards of doors.
I
All
got
the
half a
I got
door
a broken
sitting right
record.
behind the camera here.
Yeah. Things like that. Things Tony Snow, definitely a guy you want to get on here soon. Tony Snow, manager across Texas and Oklahoma, does great work. He is currently running his El Jefe gimmick, which is kind of like a drug dealer,
Yeah.
like gang boss kind of character
Yeah.
behind his already business persona,
Yeah.
which is such a great synergy as well. But he always comes out with something. He'll throw tortillas into the crowd. He's got Mexican flags he waves around and passes out. So I have at least like one of like every new gimmick that he finds. He passed out fake money the other day. He made sure to get me a bundle. Just little things like that that just represent memories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can definitely understand you there. I mean, yeah, I love getting signed stuff. Held that half a door was
Yeah.
from that no ring deathmatch show where I didn't realize at the time, but the type of ticket I bought included entry into a raffle for an event used item signed by everybody on the card. I
Yeah.
didn't realize I won until the promoter walks up to me after the show and hands me the half a door. Blood still on the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but look, stuff from moments. That's why when it comes to my autograph stuff, I like to not really buy stuff that's already autographed. I like that having that story of, oh man, I remember when I got to meet Rikishi and got a Head Shrinker Fatu one signed by him and got to
Mhm.
tell him the story of him being in the first ever WWE show I ever went to. Stuff like that. Although I do have some, event used items unsigned, like another thing from that no ring deathmatch show. I still have a gusset plate around here somewhere from that
Yeah.
show. And
That's awesome.
definitely you see why those things can do as much damage as they do in some of those matches.
I have legitimately never seen one used outside of wrestling.
I've
That's
seen
one of those parts.
I've never seen them in the act of getting used outside of wrestling,
Yeah,
but I've seen stuff that's already been done that gusset plates have been used.
yeah.
But yeah, the only time I've seen them in the act of getting used has been death matches.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, with the name of a show like I have, I would feel
Yep.
weird if I didn't have this question in here. Favorite drink? Now, it doesn't have to be alcoholic because, you probably noticed some of my episodes, people, for whatever reason or another, don't drink, which, I try to be respectful of that.
Yeah. So it's funny. Again, pointing out that you just released your interview with Aaron Eagle, which everyone should go watch, and if they've
Most
seen it, watch it again because it's great. Um, he's someone who doesn't drink, and it's funny. I don't drink as much, but it's almost uh for the reverse reasons. Because he talks about like, yeah, I just don't like it. It kind of affects me too much and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't mind, but I also like I am not a lightweight, and it almost takes too much for me to get affected. And at that point, I've spent too much money,
that's
and I'm
right.
like, having one drink isn't worth it for me, or two. It's like I'm gonna need a little more than that. So at this point, I was like, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's too expensive, but that's okay because I'm usually like the mom of the friend group anyway, and either designated driver, just making sure everyone else is having fun.
Oh
So
yeah.
it works out for me.
But
But
don't.
I do not my favorite drink, but I made a drink because I'm also a bartender.
Ah.
So for this show, Aaron Eagle, he talked about his sidekick. That's Caleb sidekick, Caleb Riley.
Yeah.
He's actually had a handful of sidekicks. Most of them don't usually make it past a match. Usually they fail and then get stripped of their sidekick status immediately. The first one to really hold on to it was Phil Noir, now Phil's sidekick, um, who is a fantastic gentleman, and hilarious to watch them. They were all three of them worked together at the most recent Lone Star Pro Wrestling show. You definitely need to look into that because that was such a great one. Um, I'll honestly send you that match. I
No.
have it on YouTube somewhere, I'm sure. Um, and so Eagle is now expanding his sidekick training opportunities. So I came here with a pitch. I was like, who is now down on their luck that maybe has had friends, but really could shine being in the shadow of Aaron Eagle, the hero, right? And I was going to say someone who I'm personally a big fan of, who maybe just lost their title, and is great having friends and working with friends, who maybe has best friends even, Orange Cassidy.
Ooh.
So I made a drink called the Orange Sidekick in
Uh,
his name to help convince him that maybe he would have better luck under the tutelage of the hero of the people, Aaron Eagle. This one's pretty good. It's just a modified Mr. Incredible, which is like a Jack and Coke with a monster.
oh.
But to make it orange, I used excess, but you can use any orange flavored energy drink. And then I happened to have a little bit of a Dream World Coke, which was their citrus Coke,
Ah.
but just regular Coke will do. So throw that with some whiskey in there, and that would be the orange sidekick. And that is my pitch to Mr. Cassidy, future Mr. Sidekick, to
Nah.
join the hero of the people, Aaron Eagle.
Hey, that would be something. And kind of sounds similar. You know, we talked about Athena, what she has going on with Billy Starks
Yep.
there in Ring of Honor. Very, very similar, but I like the idea. And you talk about Jack and Coke. One of my favorites, along that line is actually Jack and Coke with grenadine.
Mm-hmm.
Basically tastes like a Jack and Cherry Coke, and I love it.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, non-alcoholic stuff, I am a bit of a Dr. Pepper fiend.
Right. You're going to fit right but here when you come visit Texas.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, man. Hell, my shirt.
Yep.
I got it at the Mall of America at the Bubba Gump.
That's so cool.
And hell, I'll get this because it was at the same thing, but my souvenir shot glasses. Boom. Dr. Pepper shot glass.
There we go.
When my wife showed me this, I'm like, I have to have that. It is me being the Dr. Pepper fiend I am. I mean, I have to.
Right.
All right. So, last but not least here, I've had people talk to me about, advice I have for people wanting to start off, podcasts and stuff. What is like some of the best advice you have for anybody wanting to start something for a podcast that they're passionate about? Doesn't necessarily have to be about wrestling because, good Lord, there's podcasts about just about everything right now.
Yep. So I'm going to give the most generic and boring and cliche advice, but cliches are cliches for a reason, because they're usually pretty true. Just do it.
That was what I was gonna.
That's what and that's what everyone's gonna say, and everyone's gonna say it for a reason. Because you should just do it. Go ahead and fail. It's okay.
You never know unless you try.
Yeah, but also like you're not gonna know what works until you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, because especially I know with your various different types of shows that you've ran, what hits and what doesn't. And our show is interesting because one of my jobs and the reason why I was brought on that I take pride in is making sure that every show feels completely different. We're not an interview show per se. In fact, the guys weren't even having guests on for most of the first episodes. They were just hanging out, shooting shit, talking about wrestling. And then we started getting a lot of the connections and stuff that we have that I was able to bring to the table. But we're not just getting like everyone on. Like we had a takeover episode where the Scorn, Tommy Prince and Gabe Wilder came in and they made it, instead of mid-card heroes, it was Scorny card heroes. And they just ran the show. Yeah. We've had Brick Savage on, and of course, Handsome Rex was just like geeking out the whole time. It's like, oh my gosh. So
like me if I ever got Stone Cold.
Feel different. Exactly. Yeah, no, he's that to him. So that's yeah, just do it. Keep working it. You'll find something that works. You'll also find out what doesn't, and then you don't have to do that anymore.
Yep, that's the thing. Sometimes it takes the act of doing it to be like, okay, that's not going to work, so I'm not going to do that again. But all this other stuff does, so I'm just going to, as Paul Heyman would say with ECW, accentuate the positives, hide the negatives.
Yep.
The stuff that don't work, forget about it. The stuff that does, here it is.
The only other addition I'll add to that is have a plan when you start on what you want to do and what you're trying to do, but be okay with changing the plan. 9 times out of 10, especially when I'm pitching an episode to the guys, like, hey, we should have this person on, we could do this, this, or this. And then day of, we're there, someone else has, well, what if we do this? And I was like, well, that's so much better. Let's just do that. And that's fine. But if you don't have a plan in place, if you don't have a starting point, then you're not going to have an ending point.
Definitely. I definitely ran into that with the My 2 Cents stuff, especially with my friend that I brought in to be a bit of a co-host. There was one episode, I don't think I've released it yet, where we were doing kind of a fantasy draft. WWE has their draft periodically. and we have one coming up. In my head, I was going just off of WWE, but then he had this idea, let's blow that up and just do everybody. So I'm like, well, shit, I don't have my notes for that, but should be easy enough. And yeah, we went off of that. Probably one of our longer ones we've done because we get to going off of why we picked these people. But yeah, going back off of everything you said, it is good to, just do it, because if you, think and get too much in your head about something, you'll just talk yourself out of it. If you, for anybody that'll listen, if you got something you're passionate about and you want to share it, it ain't that hard to get simple stuff that you'll need to start recording and putting together episodes. Hell, this right now, I'm recording off of my phone.
Me too.
Like, I'm literally, I got a tripod stand that has for my event vlogs, I got this, that the thing that's holding the phone together, literally, I unscrew that, sits on here, and it'll also go right onto the tripod, and just got a little microphone up here and literally just stuff I found off of Amazon that I was like, oh, I want to upgrade certain stuff, but my wife would kill me if I spent too much damn money. So going on to Amazon, and you can find stuff for maybe $50-$60 at the most, and you got your basic starter stuff. So if you're passionate about something, just do it. Share what you want, because if you're having fun sharing stuff that you're passionate about, that's all that matters. All right. Well, that is about all I have before this cat of my wife's tries to tear up some stuff.
I've got the same thing happening here.
Where can people find you social media wise, so if they want to get their eyes on the show you're involved in, they can go ahead and get them there?
Yeah, so personally, I pretty much just use Facebook. I never.
Nope. Oops. We think you got. Oh,
yeah.
There we go. Technical difficulties, but we're back.
Yeah. So I just missed the big social media boom growing up. So I really didn't get back on Facebook until after I started going to wrestling, and just connecting with everyone on there. So most of my stuff is on there, just as Chris Hicks. I'm probably friends with most of the wrestlers that you've already interviewed.
Probably good.
You'll be able to find me through there pretty easily. And then on Instagram, if you go for Mid Card Heroes, that's where you'll find the show. By the time this is out, we'll be posting plenty there. We also have a group page on Facebook. So we invite you to come and talk about the show, talk about wrestling. We don't have like a page for the show. It's more of a group because we want to interact with everyone there. And we as humans just post on that and share in there.
Gotcha.
So those are the 3 places where you'll find me the most.
Definitely. We'll get all that in the description. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Best of luck out there with Mid-Card Heroes and, all the shows that you're going to be attending. I look forward to hearing about them because, well, like you said, mutual friends with a bunch of the people that are probably going to be on a lot of them. So word will definitely be getting to me about them.
Yeah. But and again, I look forward to seeing you at MPX soon.
Definitely. It's definitely on my bucket list. I'm wanting to get out, travel a little more, as money provides. So
yeah.
It's definitely on my list to do. Well, again, that is about all I have. Again, thank you, and you're welcome back anytime at all.
I appreciate that. I'd love to be back too.